Welcome everybody to the Destiny Dugout. I'm your host Cruz, member of the 3-time World's First Team from Elysium, and this is what we've got going on this episode. Check out myself and Vandal's socials, which are in the description box below. Thank you on a personal level for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy listening, and let us know what you think in the comment section. Now without further ado, let's get this thing started. All right, welcome to our third episode of the Destiny Dugout. Didn't know if we'd make it this far. Let's go.
They said it couldn't be done.
Soon we'll be at like 10, and we'll be like, wow, we've had 10 episodes already. Because honestly, being at 3, I feel like we had our first one the other day.
It felt like yesterday in a weird way. Like it just felt like we had a conversation, went to sleep, woke up, and here we are.
Like, yeah,
episode 3.
Like, oh, we've already had like 2 big episodes. That's all right. Well, anyways, welcome to episode 3. We've got more good stuff to talk about. Some things that we didn't have to think about ourselves because we got a pretty nice TWAB with some upcoming updates.
TWAB.
Yeah, some season 19 changes, I believe, if I'm not crazy. Mainly abilities based, but I like how, they went through each of the current subclasses we have and, gave a pretty good description of what they're good at and one thing or a few things that maybe need to be tuned down. So even though I may not 100% agree with every change, I'm happy that they're going like throughout the entire sandbox, I'll say, for subclasses.
And this is also likely not the end of tuning, because they do say that to set expectations now, that is not what the season 19 abilities update is. Any large scale ability energy economy tuning would be on a post Lightfall time frame, so we can include Strand in our holistic review, meaning that if they're going to make large passes at certain abilities, hopefully that it's going to end up in the Lightfall update.
Yeah, Lightfall or beyond, because if they're going to introduce Strand, they'll have that first season of season 20, I think. Is that what we're going to be going on?
I think so. I
think
know,
so.
Man.
Yeah,
I'm not the person to ask for season numbers. I've never known a season number.
Yeah, so that's a fine thing to know. Of course, we'd like it to be right at Lightfall if possible, but you know what? I will take the season after, or at least like soon after. If push comes to shove, and that's what we have to get. So let's just start off by going straight into the TWAB. So our first, look going down the list is Solar, because in the beginning of the TWAB they kind of just talk about like what their viewpoint is and certain aspects of what they want to change, and like you said, post Lightfall time frame, so they can include Strand. We already kind of know that stuff.
And they kind of preface this with, basically this pass is looking at some of the real high ends, the real, kind of outliers on the high end of the subclasses, and then the low ends, the things that could use some help. And that's kind of what they're doing, is they're basically trimming, from both ends, kind of bring everything sort of in line with itself, which I'm all for.
Yeah, I think, they're like sandwiching, like lowering the top, bringing out the bottom. You're still going to have the depth, but now it kind of makes a little bit more sense. And hopefully that means that, this is all subclass specific things. So anything that's a little overpowered, that's class-based, for example, resilience, wouldn't be a part of this. So that's my hope, at least. You can call it copium if you want, but I do believe that somewhere along the line they will do stat changes. But anyway, yeah, let's get right into solar. So first thing down the list is some restoration changes. If you've read the TWAB, then you kind of know the overall change, but if you haven't, just to quickly list it: restoration times 1, base healing rate reduced from 25 to 20 per second. In PvE activities, it's 40 health per second, down from 50. So more noticeable in PvE. That's a 20% reduction. Restoration times 2, I'll just focus on PvE side because that's what we'll do, is 65, down from 80. So that is a little bit less than... actually, no, that's pretty much still the same 20% rate. So equivalent across the board, reduction in how much health you're gaining per second. And it doesn't stack with any other healing effects now. Whatever you have that's the best will take over. So if you're in a well, the well has the fastest healing. That's going to be your thing. If you had Well of Life and Restoration, you're only going to get Restoration. No more Well of Life stacking on top, which again helps with the... Yeah, that's how it's going to work.
Interesting, because I read it as it just doesn't stack with healing rift's healing. The stronger heal over time is prioritized and will stop the weaker heal over time from taking effect. So basically, a healing rift, I think, is better than Restoration 1, but is worse than Restoration 2. Which means, so if you have Restoration 1 and you pop a healing rift, your restoration is not doing anything. It's all the healing rift at that point. But if you're in a healing rift and someone throws a ×2 nade at you, at your feet, then you're getting the nade, and then you stop getting the rift.
There you go. Yeah, I think you're right, actually, because it specifically mentions the healing rift before that.
Yeah.
From what I remember. Listen, Saltagreppo, Scamagreppo again, replied to me on Twitter saying mistake. Well of Life wouldn't... Why do I... Vandal, I know better. I talked to Salt. I literally know better.
We've known Salt for way too long.
Yeah.
You could probably convince Salt that Titans can now throw Nova bombs, and he would go on Twitter and post about how Titans are broken.
You just have to swap from Scatternade to Magnetic 3 times.
Yeah.
And then your next nade's a Nova.
Exactly. Easy.
Easy. All right. So yeah, just Healing Rift correction. I definitely agree with that.
And it looks like they took a pass at Radiant for Solar. Ember of Torches, as you know, was the fragment that when you hit an enemy with your Solar melee, you would get 10 seconds of Radiant. And they would reduce the base duration from 10 to 8 seconds, and it now has a -10 discipline when you have it equipped. And the same pass, they looked at Solace, which extends the duration of Radiant and Restoration, and it gives a bonus of 50%, meaning you're now at 12 seconds of Radiant with these 2 fragments on. So this is a big... I think this is a pretty substantial hit to Radiant, but I don't think it's really going to change much. These are kind of 2 staple fragments, at least for Hunters and Titans, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think this helps maybe make the trade-off a little bit worse, primarily just because of the minus discipline. You could argue that discipline is the best stat in the game, so losing that obviously sucks, but I agree that this is ultimately not gonna affect much building or build crafting, because Radiant and still just applying it on a melee hit, like a charge melee hit, that is still an incredibly strong ability.
Yeah, and you still have very oppressive melees like Caliban's Hand. You have the fan knives with Hunter. You have the Titan throwing hammer. I mean, these things, this is not going to stop them, not even a little bit.
No, I mean it takes it's a little nick. It's like a pebble that hit them and took out a percent of their health, but they're still gonna be super good, and I think like you said, still the staples of what most Solar 3.0 builds are gonna revolve around.
And I think the pass they took at Knock 'em Down this is kind of rough. I mean, I feel like it was sort of needed, and this kind of talks about the highs and lows, right, of things, and knock them down makes it so that six shooter doesn't get the extended duration. Um, although you get, I believe you get more resist while you're in super, which is nice. Um, Marksman will no longer provide uh, bonus damage resistance, so it's just kind of basically back to where it used to be before Solar 2.0. And Blade Barrage is losing some extra knives per wave, which is gonna hurt its damage. But I think even with Star Eaters, it's still gonna be one of the strongest options, especially having Solar Wellmaker and Kata and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the Blade Barrage really feels like, because it kind of seems like a good little chunk taken out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
24 to 20 total knives. I don't know. It honestly might have very similar in practice damage output, because a lot of the times you'd miss knives. So maybe now by having a few
Yeah.
less, the extra stragglers are the ones that are kind of being taken away. Um so there's a chance that this really only affects your ad clearing,
Mm-hmm.
which maybe isn't what Bungie intended, because I'm not sure the people were shards of Galanor spamming this thing. But I
No,
actually,
I don't.
yeah, I'm curious. I think it could be
About
just
the
kind of
same.
depend. Yeah, it depends on how it really plays out. Like I said, what knives are kind of being taken away? Is it consistently the more outer spread ones, or is it completely random? At that point, you're still rolling the dice of, am I gonna get bad blade brush spread on a boss with tracking, or am I gonna get right tracking? I think it's still a little inconsistent, but maybe perhaps more consistent because there's less knives. So
Yeah. So I mean, it's just about the use, especially if you're sitting here trying to Blade Barrage Cali. Uh, you know, good for
yeah.
you. I'm sure you're having a grand time.
You good on you for trying.
Yeah, I applaud the effort, but if you're sitting here blade barraging like Oryx, you're chilling.
Yeah. I think that's ultimately what matters the most. It's just kind of like you said, the application of it. And the golden gun changes. Deadshot with the having six shooter just go crazy in PvP. That's kind of where it became an issue. So that's gone, but you can still get your multi kills, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that duration needed to go. Honestly,
the
I think that's
marksman DR, I don't really know if it really had that much effect. I guess it's fine that they take it away, but I also think it probably wasn't the biggest deal. But either way, I don't think it has much effect either way.
I think it's just you don't see marksman in PvP very much, and uh, I mean typically you don't even see marksman in most scenarios unless you're using Star Eaters.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Last solar thing, this is like one of the smaller floor raisers, I'll say, for PvP. But now your Celestial Fire will do your max melee damage when you're up close. You're not gonna have that weird 90 damage instead of 100, which is good. It was
yeah,
always weird
great change.
when you're in melee and you use your charge melee and it's somehow worse. That's not how it should be. So now it's fixed. So all in all, just good overall change that was needed.
Yeah, great change. And then moving on to Void.
This is
Well, actually,
interesting.
to really quick wrap up, Solar, all these changes are good in my books. What about you?
Um, yeah, I think so too. Um, I'm maybe a bit worried on the fact that they are nerfing restoration without any reseal changes. If they do reseal changes going forward, like in a month or 3 months or whatever in a soonish time frame, then I think it's fine. If not, then I don't think they should really touch restoration, because at that point, reseal is the reason it's more broken than it actually is. If you die in 2 shots,
Yeah,
then that healing doesn't matter. But because
yeah,
you die in 10 shots, now you've got so much more time to heal. So that's my takeaway on that. Everything else, the radiant thing, I think is good. Maybe could even go a bit further, but I'm glad that they didn't go too far. You know, I think they took a good step,
Yeah,
which I'm happy with.
this is a little movements here, and they could have very easily just completely neutered restoration entirely, but
Yes,
I'm glad they
definitely.
didn't. So moving on to Void, I think it's interesting that they are looking at Void, and there was a bug with the Void Overshield where it was only providing 25% PVE damage resistance when it was supposed to be 50, and they state here that they wanted to increase the overshield's viability as a protection tool in high level PvE. Now, I have an issue with this. It's mainly because right now there is very few sources to get an actual overshield. Besides a Titan Wall with Bastion, Repulsor Brace, um, and Gear Falcons, whatever, however you say it.
Yeah,
There's
when
an
you
interaction
pocket
there to get
the
an overshield. Yep.
overshield. Yeah, there aren't many.
And I oh, and the Titan melee, the two Titan melees.
Hmm.
Um, for warlocks, you don't really have anything here. Um, and I think that it's just kind of, I question how much they really want it to be a protection tool in high level PvE when really only one class can get proper usage out of this.
It's
You
kind
know,
of interesting that there isn't a fragment that is overshield based, because I feel like everything else, you know, you can do um like
they have the
devour
extending one, but
and
that's it.
yeah, right. You don't have like a way where I don't know, charge melee kills grant a, I don't know, a small overshield or something like that
Mm-hmm.
as a fragment. Because I think, like you said, like it's really just Titans. Like when I think of Void Overshield, I only think of Titans.
Yeah, I mean, typically the three classes have their own sort of shtick, right? Like warlocks have devour, and I know a lot of warlocks are a little butt mad, dare I say, that the other two classes have can get devour, but picking up an orb to get devour and just getting devoured by using abilities, they're not the same thing.
As well as losing 10 recov, you know, it's
Yeah,
not
it's
necessarily easy to commit
yeah,
to.
they are not the same thing, not even a little bit. And hunters having invisibility, and doing a finisher for invisibility, again, I don't think it's the same thing, although that one is better. But whereas Titans have their overshields, the other two don't really have anything, like you said.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I never really thought about that, to be honest. But
I think about that a lot.
it. I think it's because the thing they grabbed from Titan was volatile, right? So they're like, oh, we'll give it to your guns by getting a nade kill instead of just the Titan throwing the nade and having volatile from that.
So you're saying volatile is the Titan shtick?
Well, that they decided to use. I do think Overshield is the more shtick. I mean, Bastion and Offensive Bulwark, two of the three are Overshield based.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a result, that kind of makes it the Titan thing. Um,
Yeah,
but I think if they did pick one, then it was the volatile, even if it wasn't necessarily the main Titan thing.
which is it's interesting to me because when you have that fragment that increases the duration of invisibility, devour, and overshields, those three things are usually what point to each one. But you're right, the fragment that we got to essentially share in the Titan's power or aspect power is a volatile fragment and not an overshield one.
Yeah.
So,
So 50% is, very noticeable. Very noticeable
but
for sure.
even with this, repulsor brace is still not usable.
No, you can't. I really just
One
it's yeah, I don't know. I think it's very difficult to build into it outside of just being a Titan.
and one thing I was actually talking to Salt about this was I did some testing with repulsor brace, and if you're not full health when you get a kill on
Oh
a
yeah, I remember
debuffed
you telling
target,
me this a while ago.
it just heals you.
Yeah. Brings you
So
to
and
full
you
or
so
pretty
yeah,
much
you
full.
have to be full health to get the benefit of the overshield, and it's only like a 50 health overshield. It's not really going to stop a whole lot, right? And a lot of the time that perk is in the damage slot on weapons. Now, if you could get, let's say, adrenaline junkie or frenzy with repulsor brace or something of the sort, right? Maybe, you know,
Maybe.
maybe. But right now, as it stands, there's almost nothing that could get value from it, short of building into a whole warlock thing with like Child of the Old Gods and Wave Splitter, or like the what's the haunted wave frame, the haunted
Uh
uh
I don't remember.
one called, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'll look it up here on the side, but
It's the void one.
short of doing this whole thing just to get one perk working, it's just not viable right now. I mean, I think the more I think about it, I can't think of a weapon archetype that if you put it on there, it'd be like, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah.
I could not think, because it's already on an SMG, it's on a fusion. Um and those both of those you could get those relatively easily. Now think of any other weapon type and it just gets worse. You know? I actually, unironically, I think a sword would literally be the best option, and that's not great.
That's not great. You don't necessarily want to go clear some enemies with the sword.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a weird way of, replacing unrelenting on a sword, but then just use unrelenting. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
I don't know.
thinking, off the top of my head, ways of getting value from it. It'd be really cool if we had elemental like origin trait. So we had, let's say, like a family of 3 weapons that had void as their trait, and their trait was repulsor brace. And
See,
then
yes,
Arc had
repulsor
something
brace.
else like weaker, that not volt shot obviously, but like something like sub volt shot that like made it more, this is your Arc 3.0 weapon with its trait. Like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that would have been um a much better usage of repulsor brace. And by the way, the tracer rifle is called Hollow Denial. That's
There
the
you
one
go.
they're talking
Yep.
about. Hollow Denial. I found it.
Yeah, because I just
Um,
think about that perk, and I mean, we're trying to connect this to the Void Overshield change, and or the buff, I should say, or unbugging of it, and I just, yeah, it's hard to give value as a perk, especially like you said, it's pretty much always in the damage column. You're trading One for All or Frenzy, or these are some of the best perks in the game.
Explosive payload.
Yeah, it's very difficult. So let's look at some vortex changes for Nova. Most people use Cataclysm. To be honest, I'm probably one of the rare few that actually does use Vortex. Not any particular reason why. Ultimately, neither Nova is great. But you're gonna get some increased projectile speed, the radius of its pull when it lands, and then the strength of the pull is also getting increased, all by around like 20%.
This
Maybe
feels like
makes
a
it a
weird
little
change.
little cooler for PvE, but I think it's really more just like a PvP change. Oh, I slightly missed the Nova. Now they're getting pulled in like old Duskfield nades, and they're dead. I can't really see much effect for it outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, I only use Vortex when I'm in a 6-man activity, and for whatever reason, I'm on Void Warlock, and I'm throwing my super at a boss. I use Vortex because it has no collision with bullets. So,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Cataclysm, you
Yeah,
throw
you
it
don't
and
want to
everybody's,
troll your teammates. Oh, I can't shoot. Who
yeah,
threw that dumb Nova?
exactly. So, other than that, it's like, I don't know, it's a net positive for Vortex. Is it going to change anything? Probably not.
Yeah, like you said, you pretty much only
Um,
use Vortex just for the fact that it's not a big, slow moving thing,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So the Vortex aspect of it is very minimal. This isn't, D1 year one where people on control, we're just going to sit in a Vortex Nova, It's a very different. I don't. Yeah, I don't see. I don't see the vortex getting much benefit. I do like the projectile speed change though. That just
Yeah, that's neat.
technically faster damage output, which can help.
I mean, at this point, just give Vortex Lance, but whatever.
Honestly, would be sick. I would like that.
So for Sentinel Titans, they looks like they're updating or upgrading the hit detection on Shield Bash for its suppression effect. So this is just mainly a PvP change. You know, when you Shield Bash, if people are moving real quick, which Crucible is in a very fast-paced move, meta right now, in my opinion. I don't know, a lot of stompies going around, and you get Lorenz from around the corner, real high impact stuff. Um, yeah, I can see why this bugged some people, and this should have come so much sooner. Possibly years ago, because we've had Shield Bash that long,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure it's had hit detection issues for even longer.
I wonder if
So
this is going to affect the super at all, because they do say specifically shield bash, but there is like when you
yeah,
double
you have
left
the in
click
super one. Yeah,
or like when you I guess triple left click on the ground or double left click in the air, you do have a bash at the end. So I wonder if that has any sort of effect in terms of making the hit consistent. But I think this is really just to make sure that you're going to get the suppression off, which it's happened to me a few times in PvP, but I don't know. Small change. Ultimately, neither of us really care.
yeah, it is what it is. The next big one. This is a big one.
I
You
like
wanna you
this.
wanna
Yeah. So they're kind of tweaking, I'll say, the characteristics of Deadfall and Mobius Quiver, making Deadfall, like the true anchor of the two, while Mobius is going to be more like the quick shotting one. So Deadfall increased tether anchor lifetime when triggered from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. Note that it says when triggered. Sometimes if you just shoot a tether and it's just in its little cocoon, I will say, and then it branches out once something gets nearby. So it's once that branch out and actually hits something, then it's going to have that triggered time increase, which is 4 more seconds, which is really nice. Shadow Shot, Mobius Quivers. This is your, multi-shot one. This one's getting reduced from the same 8 seconds to 6 seconds. So now there's a 6-second difference, 12 seconds and 6, which is pretty noticeable. If you're going to
Yeah,
use
that's
Mobius
substantial.
for DPS reasons in terms of debuffing, you really have to time them out because you need to do your 6 seconds and then immediately do that next volley as fast as you can once that debuff goes down. Um,
I'm
it
not even
gives the
sure you can optimize that.
Well, you're not going to get necessarily 6 seconds, but you can get it to probably 10. From before, you'd probably be getting like 12 if you're spacing them out again. If you're just spamming them,
Yeah.
that's where you really notice the nerf, I will say. But I
Hmm.
like giving Deadfall more of its old characteristics back. You want the debuff to last a long time. Div's getting a nerf. This is like a good timed change to give some value to the debuffing aspect of the two tethers.
And this is also a massive buff to O rigs,
Yes,
in my
absolutely.
opinion.
More
This is
time
on
to
both
connect to
ends.
enemies. You're just gonna have a better chance of getting your super, right?
Yep. And on Mobius Quiver side, you have 3 shots, which you can shoot one, wait 6, shoot your second, wait till your super is just about to end, and then shoot your third. And you could probably what do you think? Max out at like 14 seconds if you're
That's
really tight.
actually what I was thinking. I was thinking 14 kind of sounds right. Obviously, I'm not in game necessarily shooting it
Yeah.
right now to
This is just
see,
ballparking it.
but
Get it?
oh, nice
Ballpark.
pun. Great Destiny Dugout pun right there. Let's
There it
go.
is. First of many.
There you go. Yeah. You excited to see some Deadfall tethers out there?
I am a O rig enjoyer. I love big tether. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
I've always used O rigs. If someone says, "Yo, we need some O rigs up in here," I'm swapping to my hunter before anyone says anything. I love using deadfall and O rigs. Um, this is a great change for me and for people that enjoy it, and it's just I've always thought that Deadfall was the better super personally. Um, so I'm super stoked for this.
Really, I think if you feel like your damage output from weapons is where you're gonna get more benefit from in a damage phase, you should be running Deadfall over Mobius because
Yeah,
that
because
extra duration will lead to more damage of everyone's shots. That will surpass the Mobius Quiver damage.
mm-hmm.
Not by much, but it will. So if you want your uptime and your max efficiency, then I think that's the way to go. Which is
Yep.
exciting. Again, just gives more reason. It's not like we love necessarily Void 3.0 from Hunter because RIP Heart of the Pack. I did love that thing, but
Yes, it was
it's
nice.
it's something nice that's coming, which I think is great.
And then you have bosses like Golgoroth, who you tether right on in that middle of the platform on what, like the third or fourth orb, and that tether with all the ad spawning, it'll be there a while.
Yeah,
You know,
you can.
so
I would not be surprised if you could tether from 4, 5, and 6 just by putting it right
yeah,
in the middle.
exactly. I agree. So
So I think we're good on Void, right?
they
Let's
talked
head
about
over.
invisibility a little bit with Void, and they understand that it's an issue, but it's a
Oh,
PvP
true.
thing.
Yeah.
Listen, if you just can't see invisible people, then maybe you should try playing the game with your eyes open. That's my take. You know,
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's difficult, but
if there was
whatever.
if it wasn't obvious, there was a slash
It,
S there.
here's the thing. It was like this in the game for a long time. And because of the changes, now people are noticing it. So maybe
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I
I
I
don't really know if
I
it's an
can't see.
issue. It's
If I get
just
slide peeked by an invis guy, man, I'm dead.
it's kind of
I
always been this way. So I guess it's just more
yeah.
noticeable now that everything has been changed, by
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit from like, year 2, I will say. Um
Do you want to go ahead and spearhead arc for us here? This is
yeah,
a this is a juicy one.
let's help our PvP people who hate getting followed by storm grenades with this arc change. Um so they're really touching storm grenades and more specifically the Titan aspect of it. It's still going to be great for damage output, but it's not going to last nearly as long. The roaming duration is going down a second from 5 to 4, which is good. It's essentially just going to not chase you as long in PvP, and really in PvE, you don't need a nade to last that long. Like it's going to clear the thing you wanted to kill right away. It doesn't need to be Silence and Squall as a nade. They also decreased the bonus lifetime granted by Spark of Magnitude, so that's the one that enhanced it from 2 to 1.5 seconds. So just a slight nerf. So instead of being able to go up to a max of 7 seconds, now your max is 5.5, which is good. They updated the friend or foe visual language. I'm just going to read this word for word. Previously, the friend or foe ring surrounding a touch of thunder, storm grenades, lightning strikes blinked on and off between strikes, and there was no indication within the cloud itself of whether it was friend or foe, which I did see in PvP a few times, but it's nice to see that it's essentially fixed. Sometimes it could look like a friendly nade when it was an enemy nade, and vice versa.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of I think they add something to Silence and Squall
They did. It was just
later
the
on.
same color
Yeah,
when
they
it
give it
started,
a
but
little
now it's
red
got
effect.
like the red, yep, when it's an enemy
Yeah,
thing, which is great.
so
I like it.
it kind of blows my mind that they have to add this in later. You would think that this would be on their mind, being able to distinguish it across both sides, making sure that it's distinguishable. But you know what? It is what it is.
It is what it is. We got it.
So
So I think like it was actually pretty frustrating whenever I would play PvP to just have this nade literally follow me for I don't know. Like I feel like 3 seconds longer than it should have.
mhm.
So now it'll only feel like a second longer than it should have. Nice.
So looking at some of the melee, some of the arc melees, it looks like they're increasing the ballistic slam, which I don't know. I think ballistic slam it's a neat melee, but the fact that it doesn't do anything besides just damage kind of goes against a little bit of the Arc 3.0 stuff. Like I feel like the melees that don't do anything just don't get used. If it's not applying some kind of jolt, if it's not a blinding, you know, it's just I don't know. I just don't see it. You know?
Yeah, I think Ballistic Slam lost a lot of what made it useful when inertia got stripped from
Oh yes.
Arc, because before I legitimately would have activated Ballistic Slam just to get my 5 seconds of damage buff. Not that
Mm-hmm.
I would actively do it, because I'd probably die in most hard content doing it, but there might be times where I'd prep an enemy just to get that, and getting a 16% damage buff on this slam melee isn't gonna take me off of Thunderclap. Thunderclap's damage output is just so much better, and
Yeah,
then
it's
your
better.
shoulder
It's
charge
easier.
blinds. So
Yeah,
why wouldn't you just use either of those?
yeah. And shoulder charge when you use it, if you don't hit anything, you can keep it.
Yeah,
You
so you
know,
got
like
your movement aspect there, right? People love
yeah.
just shoulder charging to move.
Ballistic slam is just a one and done. I think it just has to do more personally, but you know,
Uh, add jolt, add a big
yeah, it
jolt
needs to
to it
do
when you
some kind of
slam.
or just something. You know, like drop a little like kind of like how Striker used to be able to super and leave this like arc field on the ground. When you ballistic slam, it leaves a little arc field that pulses a little
Yeah,
bit of
like
damage.
yeah,
You
the
know,
aftermath. Yeah, like a
yeah,
circle of AoE. Something,
yeah.
something to help it out. Just more characteristics, like you said, something else that's more
That
than just doing a
makes
melee.
it worth it. Yeah. Looking at Tempest Strike for the Hunter, they increased the damage against PvE combatants by 30%. I've been using Tempest Strike exclusively since Arc 3.0 came out because I looked at Lethal Current and I was like, this looks boring. Just straight up, I'm gonna call it for what it is. It looked boring. I know it's one-shotting champions. I know Vendetta and Assault and them are doing speed runs and stuff with Lethal Current. That's all well and dandy, but Tempest Strike is so much fun. It is insane amounts of fun. And the fact that they're just giving it just a massive 30% increase, that's kind of crazy. I'm surprised.
It's I feel like that has to be the user base, like numbers wise,
Oh yeah.
because I don't think it's 30% bad worthy. Maybe it's like 15% bad worthy, but I don't
Hmm.
necessarily think it's bad either. It's just not, you're not having that crazy burst of damage by running Tempest, which I don't know. You don't need it necessarily.
Yeah. I mean,
Temp,
Tempest, it applies Jolt when it hits things. I feel like a lot of people maybe didn't read the aspects. Um, you know, it almost does the same thing that Lethal Current does. Um, you just have to slide, and you also just can't stack it with combination blow, which is a big downside. Don't get me wrong, but you know,
yeah, I
if
don't know
you're if
why
you're
it
like,
can't, to be honest.
I think
But
it did when it came out. It did, but I fixed it.
yeah, I think it should.
I agree. You know,
That's not going to be game breaking, but that's not really the biggest complaint of mine. Um, Honestly, I do think with the jolt, it it's a lot better. Of like, if I had to day one on Arc Hunter, like Tempest Strike is a way better. Hey, they're spawning. Let me do an uppercut. Bam, chained, killed a bunch of enemies. I'm not
yeah.
gonna sit there dodging melee. Wait, dudes, I gotta get this last kill. Like anything like that, it
Yeah.
makes me cringe. Because anything
Yep.
serious, you're like, nobody's waiting for you to do this, to get
Yep.
this one by one thing, unless you're soloing something. But if you're soloing something, I would just say
Yeah.
go Titan with hammers, because I think that's the easiest thing just to stay alive with.
And also, if you're soloing stuff, you don't have to tell anybody anything. You do whatever you want. You know,
Exactly.
the world's
Just
your
like
oyster. Go crazy.
just like those builds in the
Yeah.
in the lost sectors.
Nobody knows just how inefficient or crazy you're being because you're by yourself. So go nuts. Um, and I think, are you cool with? I'm just gonna really quickly fly over the Arc Warlock stuff. Is that cool?
Yeah, yeah, fly over it.
Okay, so they obviously know that Stormcaller kind of sucks in both PvE and PvP. They've fully acknowledged that. Um, they went ahead and upped the damage of Arc Souls from 35 to 60. That's cool. I mean, I guess I'd like to see an Arc Soul meta. I think that'd be kind of hilarious, but yeah. Um, Stormcaller's melee abilities. Ball Lightning got a distance increase that's pretty substantial. I still don't think it's going to be very popular, especially with the slide melee, wayframe grenade launcher meta type thing you can do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, good for you. It's probably better that way. Um, and Chain Lightning got an increase of 50% against PvE
50's a
combatants,
lot.
which that's insane.
That's a
That is a
lot.
nuts change. And not to mention, you can run Winter's Guile with Warlock, and um, if you really wanted to, you could run Claws of Amkara. So Chain Lightning gets a lot of value right now. I think it could be very easily overlooked.
Chain lightning
Um,
and like a Monte Carlo thing would be
yeah,
pretty fun with
and like a
with
one-two punch
Winter's Guiles.
shotgun.
Yeah, you could just go
Yeah,
crazy with melee
I
spam. So I think it's fun. I don't know if it's good, but it's fun for sure.
yeah, it'd be really fun to full send into that. But it does help with killing kind of trash with your melee and kind of having it spread and do that. The fact that they reduced the cooldown time from Chaos Reach, that's they're trying to offset what they did to Geomags.
Pretty much.
So
Like that's
um,
essentially the change.
I still don't see Chaos Reach. It's a long super for damage that can just be completely like outclassed by what, like Gathering Storm, Blade Barrage, like Thundercraft. Like there's all these things that almost eclipse Geomags with Chaos Reach in like a fourth of the time. So
Yeah.
Arc Warlock, they got a lot of help here. I just don't see it still personally. Um, Even though Arc Warlock has some of the best recycle abilities with Ionic Traces and spawning of that sorts, it's just not there yet.
I think PvE wise, like Arc Soul actually maybe is better than we'll think because I don't know if we really need as much fun as the slide melee thingy is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how needed it is in harder content. I think just passive Arc Soul damage could be pretty nice, especially. I remember when it got changed to 25 to 35, I was like making fun of it because I was like, it needs way more than that, and now it's 60. That's like over
Yeah,
double damage from what he used to. So I mean, if this doesn't do it, then nothing will. We'll never use him.
yeah, exactly. So, and I agree. I guess on that front, you know, it really depends on what you're doing. If there's no scenario where you can get Font of Might, you're not going to be on Arc because there's very few Arc heavies that are really worth using Font of Might with. So, being on Arc Souls, kind of trolling, unless you're the div guy on Arc Souls. That's a weird scenario. Um, but it really depends on what you're doing, right? Where there's a no scenario to kind of optimize, there's nothing wrong with having just some passive little guy just shooting bullets for you damage.
If you ever just had a crazy, like crazy ad dense encounter,
Like more than
almost like
dares.
I'm thinking like end of Crota, but with like literally or an end of the first encounter in Crota's End.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're doing all the maze and you get on the plate and everything comes to
Yeah.
you. Like triple the enemies and you have everyone sandwiched together with Arc Souls enhanced. Like I could see that like being pretty good there. But I don't know. We'll see what it's
Yeah.
really like.
The big
Quickly just
downside there is you're stuck playing Arc Warlock, which is
yeah,
like
which is yeah. I think
yeah.
for that encounter maybe decent if you want to go like Stormcaller just because it's infinite thrall, but you know.
Yeah.
Just want to add like Chaos Rage is supposed to be the Warlock big damage super, and compared to the two other classes, it just isn't enough. It needs some more damage, or I'd argue maybe even a faster cooldown time, and then they'd have to make Nova the big damage thing, just
I
to
think what would
give
be
some identity.
just a quick, just a quick tangent would have been a really cool super to give to Warlocks. It would have basically been a better Chaos Reach. Would have been kind of, they call it like Lightning Strike or just something like from the sky or some kind of crazy name or something like that. Basically, you throw this like arc ball at the ground or throw it at an enemy, and then like almost like a hammer of dawn from Gears of War. This big
Mm-hmm.
beam of energy from the sky that looks like a Chaos Reach, but it just hits in one spot. And the whole trade off would be does a lot of damage. You're no longer locked in your super animation, but if the enemy moves, then you're kind of SOL there. You know, but
This would be
I think that would
crazy
have.
OP, but Geos, if you got like a tri beam instead of just one, that would be kind of just power fantasy. That
or
would be sick.
or that with Geos at the end of the beam, it was like this huge orb.
Yeah, that followed it.
Yeah,
That like did a
maybe.
pulsing effect with an AoE. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So I think Arc,
Higher S Bungie.
you know, Arc in conclusion, these are okay.
Yeah, more impactful on Solar, but kind of makes sense considering Arc just frankly isn't as good as a subclass as any of the others. Speaking of
Yeah.
others, we've got one more. We'll get through Stasis pretty quick too, because I don't think there's anything really that big here. I will see.
Yeah.
I'll get refreshed by going through. So the first notable change here, we've got the Stasis Slow, which is just you can move a little bit faster. Or sorry, vice versa. I just saw it increased. You move a little slower while slowed. Essentially a PvE or PvP thing to have more benefit of a dust field. I don't see anything else there.
And a shuriken.
Yeah, fair. Those shurikens are like little pebbles nowadays. Imagine, remember the double days. Dead.
Yeah, I remember
So
bouncing these
broken.
things around walls. Like when it came out, people were like, "This melee sucks," and then like you'd get someone low, they would hide, and you just throw a shuriken at that wall, instant headshot tracking. It was insane.
Yeah.
It was the most broken melee. Oh my goodness.
I
Um,
like this cold snap change. It basically now there's a 0.5 seconds. After that, it like hits that it can find a new target, which is just gonna help its consistency. Um, Something that'll actually be nice for PvE.
yeah, it'll help with osmiomancies.
Right. Just I mean essentially just makes them more effective. You're not gonna have the ghost snaps as much where they just track and don't hit. Which is good. Dustfield increased slow stack application rate on players. So again, this is just making Dustfields better for PvP. You're gonna get slows build up faster by 13%.
Yeah.
I
And
like these two
yes,
next changes
this is an
because
excellent change.
Winter Shroud, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the dodge slow, right?
I believe so, yes.
Which I've always really been a fan of. So having this fragment slot increase from 1 to 2 is fantastic in my opinion. I think that
That's
adds
awesome.
a lot of like I think the Hunter one is better than the Titan one. We'll get to the Titan one in a second, but I actually am kind of excited to use it now because one is brutal. Everyone knows only having one fragment, it really has to be good. And when it came out and PvP was crazy and all that stuff, Stasis 3 or it was the new 3.0 model. It kind of made sense to be one, but now I think 2 is the right call. I'm excited for that. The Titans got an up.
I think the Titan one is
You
way
like this
better.
one?
I
So it
love
got
this one a lot.
Cryoclasm got up from 1 to 2, which is the
Cryoclasm
slide
is
through.
yep. Slide through frozen targets and crystals to instantly shatter them. Ever since it came out, I have immediately thought this thing is so unfortunate that it only has one because you are essentially shoehorned into like the same 3 fragments and you get nothing else.
Yeah, seriously, early Behemoth Titan builds. I actually really loved playing PvE Titan when it came out on Stasis with Cryoclasm because I think just sliding through was just such a fun thing.
Yeah, and the longer slide too was nice. It was fun.
Yeah. And now that it's not broken in PvP, they can actually update it to 1 to 2. I'm excited to pair this with instead of Howl of the Storm for my like big glacier nade build because ultimately this is going to help my efficiency with the glacier nades. One thing that's always sucked about glacier nades is that breaking them is very difficult. Cryoclasm is crazy good at just breaking all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've been running Cryoclasm even now with Tectonic Harvest and Hoarfrost Z, which, by the way, crazy underrated chess
Yeah.
piece.
But it's pretty
If you
much what
haven't
you're saying
used it,
there. That's what I'm gonna do.
yeah, if you haven't used it on Stasis Titan, you are missing out. You have been fed the wrong juice. Heart of Inmost Light is not the best for Stasis Titan, in my opinion.
I think it maybe is only better if you're not running the breaking a crystal gives you innate energy. But if you're not doing that, then you're throwing. So
Yeah.
there you go.
So Hoarfrost Z, definitely give it a shot. With this Cryoclasm change, it only gets like so much better. You have that ability to put down a wall, instantly slide into it, break all of it for those stasis shards, get yourself, Font of Might, Charge with Light, all kinds of, and even an Overshield if you really want it. There's tons of opportunity there, and then grenade regen, and those shards also give you melee regen. Literally, the chess piece feeds your entire subclass all in one. And so that to me is just like insane, right? And moving on to other insane thing, which I thought when I saw this, this was crazy because the glacial harvest cooldown for warlocks got reduced from 15 to 10 seconds, meaning you could have 100% uptime on Font of Might,
Yeah.
which is would just by yourself as long as you have something to freeze. Um, with honestly, if you're using something like Aegers or a dusk, like you have a dusk field on the boss, like towards the end of your Font of Might, it'll just kind of reproc it for you. Like that to me is just it's insane. It's really good change.
10 seconds is nice. I definitely think it can compete with some different builds now. I'm still a super, big simp for like ice flare bolts because I think it's crazy. But I've never really been a big bleak watcher guy, and frost pulse is neat, but I only see people spam it in PvP. So
Yeah.
in terms of stasis warlock, for me, because I'm not a huge bleak watcher guy, this is actually super cool. I like
Yeah,
this a lot.
I'm not either, honestly. I think if you're spending all that time throwing Bleak Watchers, you could have just been killing whatever you're trying to freeze. Um, with shooting a forbearance shot at the ground. I will
Yeah.
say that every episode.
Yeah, for
Like
real.
half
Until
this
it
game
gets
can be
nerfed.
played. Half this game can be played by shooting a weapon at the ground. You don't have to look at what you're shooting. Just shoot at the
We'll
ground.
we'll make it a weekly thing to just be like, yeah, the two best weapons in the game for ad clear don't take any skill because you're best at shooting the ground. Wow,
Yep.
we love high skill gameplay.
The hardest part of this game is uneven terrain. What a world.
Yeah. Oh, I shot my forbearance and it went backwards. Dang, I didn't kill the 40 enemies in
Well,
front of me. Let me just reload and
got
do it anyway.
yeah. And I think to top it off, the Whisper of Rending change, um, the bonus damage to stasis crystals frozen targets from kinetic to just all primary ammo weapons. I don't know how. Again, this took so long. It should have just been de facto, but great change.
It's more of like a bug fix, right? Because the fact that it only worked on kinetic primaries is kind of crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be nice to be able to break things out a little faster with just every primary weapon, which is
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's
I mean,
good.
you could use something like the new stasis bow that I don't even have one because I don't think it has that great of rolls. But if you really like it with headstone, for instance, you pop a head and makes a headstone, and then one arrow pops the crystal. If
Yeah.
you use this, done.
Mm-hmm.
You get a nice little rotation there. So, but I think all in all, this ability pass, this is a good start. There's obviously things that they need to address and to look at, but this is a really good start.
Yeah, and to be honest, going forward, I think that's the biggest thing to remember is that this isn't the big sweeping changes. I do think we're gonna be getting a lot this year or I guess season 19 and 20. It's like the season 4 and season 1 are always the ones where we get the big changes, and I think this is it. I think we're gonna get a lot of
Yeah,
sandbox stuff, which is exciting.
and we want to hear your thoughts too. Let us know what you think about the changes. If you disagree with us or whatever, we want to hear your thoughts and then read them. And I'm looking at you, Mary. I see you. We want to hear your
Yeah,
thoughts.
Mary. He always wants to say something. Just say it, man.
Yeah, let's see it.
Let
I
us
want to see the
know.
write up. And then I think the last part of this 12, I guess major part, is the dungeon. Um,
Yay, dungeons.
we get a dungeon date, so that's neat.
December
Um,
9th at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Remember, everyone, it's going to be an hour before we're used to.
yeah.
So just, I don't want, not, it's not going to happen again. We're not going to do a late one. Oh, that was great with Goss. Or not Goss,
was,
Goa.
yeah,
We're just like,
that was funny
wait,
as hell. We
what?
were like,
It's
what
already...
time is reset?
We're just like, I think
what?
I think it's 10.
We're 30 minutes late. What the heck?
Oh my god, people are in it. What? Yeah, the rest of the 12 is just kind of haunted or Festival Lost stuff and some Bungie bounty stuff, which isn't really what we're here for. So that about does the 12 stuff. I'm very happy. I like getting semi juicy to very juicy 12s. So this one's definitely in the juice category.
So I think we could touch on the next topic. Looking at, maybe this could be the introduction to this topic, and we talk about it more.
Yeah, we'll see how long it
on
kind
the
of
next
takes us to get
episode.
through.
But looking at what it takes to go from a beginner / casual player to a good player, and good is a little bit subjective, but I sort of categorize a good player as someone who can LFG like a raid and not be stressed, worried, and you know what I mean. Like it's just they're just getting something done.
Yeah, I think, like you
You know,
said, subjective vary because a lot of the people around us would say that a good player has to be able to get like day ones, but
I think in the
I was a
grand
good.
scheme of things, it's a lot less than
That's
that.
yeah. Like I mean, I think I was a pretty good player before I even ever joined the clan, and I was not doing day ones. Like no way. Granted, they're a
Yeah.
little different, but to be good, you don't necessarily have to be among the top couple thousand players. There aren't
Yeah.
there aren't many people that do that. I don't know if people realize like numbers are higher, but you still have to be I would say great player to be able to accomplish that.
I think the difference between a great and a top player is a great player just hasn't hit a top 100 yet.
Yeah, I agree.
A top players are the people that are consistently, you see their names in the top 100s. Those are top players, right? Those guys are pushing it. And a great player is someone who has the potential, but they haven't found the environment, or they haven't fostered the people around them quite yet at that to bring them up to their level, to help themselves and to help their team kind of reach that top status. Because I'm sure there's tons of people that have stories about, oh, on this day one I would have gotten it, but there's all these things that went wrong, and I was doing all these things, and I felt like I was pulling the weight of 20 people. And everybody has a story like that, right? Every top player, talk to any of them, they all have a story like that to tell you.
Sometimes
And
many.
yeah, and a big part of it is you just keep going, and people in your teams, they start changing, you start swapping people out, and you notice that certain people stick around because you find little bits of success with every different group, and you start to kind of latch onto and hang on to the people that you're finding success with, and next thing you know, you're cruising your third world's first in a row.
It is crazy to think about though, because I really do feel like I have been through pretty much every stage, which is crazy to think about. I started playing the game when I was 16. I think that's when Destiny 1 came out. And like that's a long time ago. I was a very different person back then.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't thinking about. Um, I could say a lot of people weren't thinking about the mentality needed to get there. They just wanted to get there. It's like the concept of I want to be famous, but they don't really know how to get there or anything. They just want to be famous, you know. They don't have a clear path in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of it just comes from the experiences around you, you know. Um, I think it's funny when people they find out that I used to be on like two of Cruz's um day one teams, you know. Oh, you played with Cruz, and I'm like, you bet I did. And he made the smart choice by getting rid of me. Best thing he could have ever done,
Yeah.
you
Sometimes it
know.
wasn't my own choice though. It's a team after all, so everyone's input matters.
Yeah, and it's I think more than anything, your mentality has to be there, and not to preach too hard here. I guess Cruz reel me in if I start flying across the sun here. Um, if you're not willing to make the sacrifice, if you're not willing to be the team player, view things from a team perspective, to take yourself out of the hero's shoes, for instance, to rid yourself of the main character mentality, even for a second, then you're gonna find your climb to the top is gonna be a struggle, because not only are you going to clash with other people, those people you're clashing with are doing the same thing you are, right? Everybody wants to be the hero. Everybody wants to be the star. Everybody wants to be the guy. Like, how cool would it be if it's like, oh, they got world's first, but yeah, they only got it because Cruz clutched it out and like basically soloed Tanix, like, or he
Yes,
like
yes.
soloed like freaking Atheon, like everybody was dead, but then Cruz just like killed him by himself. Everybody wants that moment, but in reality, those moments are few and far between, and it's really just a solid team effort. Understanding that, you know, as much as I want to sit here and do damage, I can basically kill the ads around the room so that everybody's flinch is reduced. Or let's say I need to protect Cruz while he does damage, or he does a mechanic, or he does something, or even just using divinity for your team, or debuffing in some other ways. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think mentality is one of the most important things that you need to start with.
Yeah, I
You know?
think mentality, knowing the situation, there are going to be hero moments, but like you said, they're few and far between. They don't happen in most situations, and you got to know that going into it, you got to know that that's not necessarily going to be how it plays out. You might have to be the one doing the simple things to ultimately be just a good team player.
Yeah,
But this
like
is, this is pretty up there, I would say. Even your entry level player, when they're just kind of getting into what end game is, just to transition a little bit, from what I would say is what helped me a lot, especially in other games. I would say Counter Strike is a big one that I learned this from. But by watching and affiliating myself with like what good players are doing, I would say in Destiny you've got your end game content creators, and that's not exclusive to your Glads, your Vendettas, your Salts. It doesn't have to be literally the best players that have played the game. You can just go with a person who's just doing GM clears and really learn from what they do, and then have another input by watching someone else. And for me, watching led to me almost acting out how they would play, and then I'd begin to understand why there were certain decisions that were good, like why I would use this weapon, or why I'd position myself here. I think that's a really important beginning step for your casual player to become a good player and do, your GMs on the regular.
yeah, I completely agree. I think, and also not um, but to an extent, learn from them, but you don't need to copy and paste them.
Definitely not. Yeah, try to make that as clear as possible. You're not trying to regurgitate what they do. You're trying to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, and then you do it in your own way that works. Because your brain isn't going to be functioning the same way. You've got your own way you think about things, and you've got to learn from many different people how they work, and then you can mold that into what your new belief is of how you should play the game and go from there. Because going into a day one with no knowledge at all and then trying to copy somebody else, and then the third option is combining your current knowledge with your outside source, that third option is ultimately going to be the best, even though in the second one you're trying to do exactly what the better player is doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to put on whatever loadout Cruz is using, and another thing to look at what Cruz is using and going, I can use parts of that in my own build, right? In my own strategy. And you've now improved your own, right? Instead of just copy and pasting what Cruz has. And I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I was just, you saying that made me think about just within a day one team, over the last 3 day ones, I don't know if any of us use the exact same loadout, other than like strictly like maybe a boss damage thing where we all had succession and anarchy for Templar, when we were doing challenge. Many encounters, even within a team of 6, we're all using different things because we're all comfortable with different things.
yeah. And we all have, you all have something in mind that you're trying to accomplish, and your build is helping you do that. Right. And if you're just copying someone's build without keeping in mind what their objective is, their personal objective, um, that build's going to kind of fall short a little bit,
We can
especially if it
kind
doesn't
of
align with yours.
Yeah, we can kind of talk about builds and mods, because I know that's something you wrote down. I had two, because while Destiny maybe isn't primarily mod build crafting heavy, it's not the main emphasis of the game, it's definitely getting to be a bigger part. So do you want to talk about learning the basics of that?
Yeah, I think understanding what's useful and why it's useful. Um, for instance, I think kind of to throw a blanket statement on it is basically mods that can be utilized across most, if not all, content and across all subclasses, right? Um, with little to no real effort needed to activate them. A great example is what we talked about last episode with Explosive Wellmaker, Well of Life, and Time Dilation. Those are 3 staple mods that require very minimal effort. You're already doing it, you're going to be doing it, and it works on any subclass, and you can use it anytime. Um, and especially now with like Charge with Light and kind of how neutered it is with the um, nerf drop rate of orbs, basically. A lot of people aren't making orbs as much anymore. Knowing what Charge with Light mods to use, um, and when to use them and when they become effective and when it becomes too much is a big part of it too. You know, it might seem like, oh, I'll use heavy-handed firepower, I'll use energy converter, and I'll use a taking charge, and I'll use um, you know, stacks on stack. I'll just use something else, right? It's like in theory, that's sure, you could probably do that. I could tell you it's not going to work out as well as you think it will, um, because a lot of those mods, they by themselves on paper they look good, but typically those mods have things that they kind of require to get real proper usage out of them, right? Um, and I think understanding which ones that are just fun, like heavy handed, is a really fun one, and ones that are kind of sort of staples. I think elemental time dilation is one of those staples, um, right now I think elemental wells are just inherently better than charged with light in most scenarios. And like I said, explosive well maker, the fact that it works across all subclasses. If you throw a grenade and it kills like 2 enemies, you're guaranteed a solar well, right? So you don't have to really spec or do anything to make that work. Um, and I think it's looking at the practicality of it too, right? Having a build where you have like melee well maker and you're doing a GM and you're not using like a liar's handshake or a bonk build. I don't know how much value you're going to get out of that, you know. Let alone in a GM where when you make a well from far away, let's say, you got to go get it. So if you're not prepared to go get it, then maybe it's not worth full sending it to certain wells or charge with light mods.
Yeah. I think a lot of this comes down to knowing about all this stuff, and that comes with research, like learning from others. It's a really good way for a newer player who wants to kind of hit the next level to learn, is just see what other people are doing. Be wary of the clickbaitiness. Watch out for this gun is the next best thing. You can still watch those videos, but just understand maybe the practicality of where they're coming from, right? But ultimately, research, messing around with it yourself, but seeing what those better players are doing, seeing how they get effective, or how they're using them effectively, I should say, and then applying them in game. If you're gonna use a build, try to make it geared towards a certain thing. If you want it to be nade heavy, or if you're going to be using a lot of nades, then having elemental ordnance is probably a good idea to pair with it, right? So just look at like the natural synergies and go from there. It really isn't that complicated, but it looks really complicated because there's so much.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't have a lot of mods, and do your best to follow the right people on Twitter when they post about mods that haven't been sold in years and whatnot. But check Ada every day. But
that's
honestly,
unfortunately just something that is in the game right now. I'm sure in the future they will make it more accessible, but that is just something that just sucks right now. Is that early players, if you're to pick up a new light account, you're like, I like this game, her builds are pretty cool, buy the game, and now you're like, how do I get these mods? And you get like 2 a day, and it's like, okay, now I gotta go get mod components. How do you even do that? I don't know.
Guns with bounties, I think.
There you go farm bounties.
Yeah,
engaging content for a new player.
Good God. Honestly, there's a lot of mods that just are just not worth the effort. Like, I know a lot of people look at Salt's build with all the firepowers and ×5, and I was there when he kind of thought it up and we talked about it, and I had to explain to Salt what firepower even did. And Salt's been playing the game for like the entirety of Destiny 2 and since that mod came out. So little side tangent, unless it's broken, Salt does not care about it at all.
Yeah, and make sure you read.
It does not exist in his
make sure
mind.
You read the mods. If you have a mod, make sure you read it. Be clear. Even if it's not clear enough, like search it up. Just Google search explosive wellmaker mod Destiny 2. It'll pop up with like a GG or something else, and there'll be something
tons
that
of creators.
helps.
Tons of creators are making videos like that. Astacross and people like that. Those guys, they put in the legwork. They put in that time to tell you guys how these mods work. So definitely Google it, look it up, read it. But honestly, most of the mods you don't need. There's only a couple. But the other ones just really kind of fall into more of like a I don't know how to say it without saying meme. Meme loadouts and
they're
builds.
just they're for fun. But this is all also subject to change because we are expecting a little bit of a rebalance in this category. Hopefully soonish, like fall or around then. So let's just hit real quick. I've got some
real quick. I want to just double back real quick. And then, like we talked about, I believe it was last episode with your affinities and your armor.
Hmm.
Um, if something requires you to change all your affinities to arc, don't do it. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say that
tough.
right now. Don't do it. Arc is the least desired affinity. And you only want it on one piece, and that's for Seeking Wells. Just don't fall into that trap, because I know a lot of people don't have as many mats as we do, for instance, and
Yeah, a new
it's just not
player,
worth it.
that's tough. I would
You know,
honestly, I would say for like a
solar,
really more new player, limit the amount of experimentation you do and try to see other people do
yes,
it for you because they have the mats to do it while you won't.
yes. Because it will hurt when you're burning through golf balls or legendary shards, and I know not everybody has like 20k.
I mean, even upgrade
Um,
modules, you got to go
yeah,
get your
those are
planetary
expensive too.
stuff.
Yeah, all of that stuff adds up, and just to make your melee come back a little bit faster, it's I want to say it's not worth it. That part's subjective, but I'll just you know end with it's most likely not worth it.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
but sorry, go ahead.
last yeah,
We'll wrap
last
this
thing
up.
of this, I would hit for that newer, early, lower casual type of player, that kind of wants to get a little better, look to the more end game side of things, is find out what the best weapons are and where they come from. And to that point, same thing with armor. Like try to find what good stats are and where to get good armor. Um, Master dungeons are usually the best place where our upper level players will farm, but there are many better places that are easier. I would say like whatever seasonal armor is out, that's probably the easiest way to go right away because that's
Yep.
something that doesn't take much effort and you can get those high 60s, get your max discipline, resil, recov, high strength, like whatever you need for your build. That's a good place. Like I said, with weapons, find out what they are, see what the better players are doing, and like what they have rolled on. You know, what's this arc wave frame? Oh, it's forbearance. Oh, it comes from Vow. I want ambitious chain reaction on it, and then go try to get it. Go from there. Try and get like the best weapons. That way, you know what they are and why they're that good. Because you'll be able to tell real quick why it's good.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, a big resource for that is, like Cruz said, watch the right people. Watch people. Just watch people play the game. Right? You see a lot of people using the same weapons and almost the same loadouts because they're that good. And as far as going to places for answers, I know there's a lot of community discords. We have our Elysium community discord that people are in there quite often asking questions and talking about stuff. I know Cruz and I have sort of talked about the concept of opening up our own discord to chat with people. Um, Again, if that's something that could see some use, let us know in the comments. You know, it's not that hard to make one. But really, it's don't be afraid to reach out. A lot of the times you don't even know that some weapons exist until you either see it or you ask about it. You know, um,
you'll be given a taipan to craft right away, and you'll be like, "Why is this good? Why I see a lot of people using these linears, but what do I put on it? I can craft it, I
hmm
can level it, but now what do I go with? You know, so like yeah, you'll be able to see real quick. A lot of people use the same things, and that's a great way to learn. Kind of connecting back to my do your research and watch some end game people, not necessarily the best of the best, just people that are doing the end game things. You'll learn a lot from doing that. And
yeah,
I can't emphasize this enough, but do your best to sort out the reality of the situation from all of the clickbait because there's going to be a lot of things that are, oh, this is so good, but in reality, it's not actually. You'll be able to tell if people are actually using it and if it's actually good, if they use it consistently.
just take the what is it the role of absolutes, something with absolutes in Star Wars, right?
Yeah, that isn't that only a
It's a
Sith deals in
yeah.
absolutes. There you go.
So typically, if you see a video, and I know a lot of build creators make videos like this, where it says the best damage build in Destiny 2, or like the best build in Destiny 2, or something to that effect. Um, typically, typically they're not right, and very rarely, if they are right, they're not completely right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's only partial truth.
Um, you know, so just take all of those with a grain of salt. Take it for what it is, and as you do your research, you'll start to realize things about the game and about yourself and what you enjoy about it and what you find interesting and stuff like that. And to in a short phrase, right now, the name of the game is ammo economy. If I were to just put a spearhead to it, it's just ammo economy is king. If you have a weapon that puts out good damage, has a lot of ammo, and you can get ammo for it easily, congratulations. You've just
Yeah,
now found one of the best weapons in the game.
yeah. It's how
So
much ammo you can hold, how much damage does it do, and how feasible it is to get the ammo. Are all super important aspects of the weapon balancing. I'll say in the weapon sandbox. So that's a good
yeah,
way to cap it off there. Next episode we'll kind of take a look at like kind of like the mid to upper level angle of it in terms of like, all right, now I kind of know the basics of end game stuff. How do I become an end game good player to somebody who can get day ones? So we'll look at that next. I think just to end off, we'll talk a little bit about some new stuff going on. My PC setup is underworks. I actually had a stream, which I mean, surprisingly, I had a couple people turn up for, which is fun. They kept me sane because I ended up doing it for about 6 hours and went through quite a bit of troubleshooting, hardware wise, trying to make things work. First PC build doesn't always go the way you want it to. But ultimately, I do think I was happy with how it went. I can't finish it because my cooler doesn't have the right socket for my like CPU and motherboard. I don't have the newer one. So I literally can't finish building it because I can't put my CPU cooler on. Sucks. I've already contacted the company. I'll get it hopefully the end of this week, and then that's when I can kind of do my tinkering. I won't be gaming on it for a while, but I would at least have a functioning PC at that point. Other thing,
yeah,
got that 240 hertz 1440p monitor, and I literally could tell the difference right away. The higher resolution. It's a I love using it. I actually like. I haven't even really ever used 4K, but I mean, not that I'd want to. But this is a very nice upgrade. I honestly would super vouch going for a 1440p if you've never had one.
yeah. I mean, I don't have a 1440p, but then
There you
again,
go. That's the next
my
thing.
my eyes are too old that I can't even see over
Well, my
30
last thing
frames.
here is Black Friday deals we're looking out for. So come on, there you go. New monitor. They're actually getting quite affordable. Like the 1440p market, you can get a 1440p 165 hertz for I think like 250 on sale. You could probably get it for 200 USD, which is crazy
Yeah,
considering 3 years ago these monitors were like $800.
yeah.
It's
I
good,
mean,
good for the consumer.
I might think about upgrading actually, but we'll see. Um, any other final thoughts? Oh, and I guess if you guys like to talk about transitioning between kind of different levels, um, we could always flesh that out more.
Yes,
Uh, and then we could talk more about from the good to the great, and I guess a little bit from the great to the top. I guess
yeah.
if we
I
were
think
to,
we'll touch on that like more, kind of like that final chunk. I'd say we covered like the halfway mark of
yeah,
your entry level player to getting into like the better player category, but obviously there's still a lot more you can do, and we'll share the
oh, and
secrets next episode.
to jump back into it real quick, if Pit of Heresy is the featured dungeon, farm the boss.
Oh, for
You won't
sure.
regret it.
Bet
You will not regret it.
your armor's gonna be cracked.
Yes, farm the boss. That is an excellent start if you're looking to get some juicy armor and stuff like that and get your stats all figured out. farm pit. Pit boss is the entry level in my opinion. You put on Gallarhorn, 2 rockets with some friends, you'll bake that boss all night.
You can't go wrong with that. It's super easy.
You literally throw one melee and get radiant, and he's dead.
Yeah, you can even just go like throw down a well and grab lament if you have it.
Yeah,
just go left, right, and just keep doing that. You'll kill them too.
Yep. So, but that's for another day. Any closing thoughts, Cruz?
Closing thoughts. Thanks for listening / watching. That's my closing thought.
And my closing thought is
we kept it under reins this time.
Oh.
Not too much talking.
Yeah, true. I guess my closing thought is also thanks for listening / watching.
Let's go.
Please leave a comment. It helps the algorithm. And follow Cruz on Twitter.
And Vandal on Twitter at VandalSTV.
I don't know you're at. Oh God.
Oh, you should know at the TV Cruz.
I don't know if it's the TV Cruz or Cruz TV.
It's never Cruz TV.
It was Cruz TV though.
No, it was never. I couldn't get it. It was taken on Twitch, and I've never been Cruz TV. It was TV Cruz
on Twitch. Yeah, that's the TV Cruz on Twitter. Yeah, at the TV Cruz on Twitter.
I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? Oh, if you do like it, please share it. You know, if you've got a friend group or a Discord that you think would like this sort of type of content from, you know, your upper level elite type players, you know, your belt holders. Not many people talk about this stuff with I will say my experience and my what's my trophy case. There you go, that's the word I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So like I said, yeah, if you like it, please share it, like, comment, all that good stuff. And excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, leave a comment, please.
Thanks for watching, guys.
See you next time.